Ladies and gentlemen, it's 2025, and we are so freaking back.
Can't even say gentlemen right.
What did I say?
You put like a B in there at some point.
Did I?
Gentlemen.
Ladies and simpletons. Ladies and simpletons. Ryan, in the words of Ryan, how the hell are you? Oh, damn. Blow that thing.
Excuse me?
Your harmonica.
Oh, right. Yes. Welcome, everyone. It's a pleasure to see you all here from the unknown location that is my room.
Live from Ryan's room. It's Saturday night.
Oh, no, nobody saw that. Oof. So, yeah, I'm just kidding. I did. But anyway, yeah, it's good to be here. It's good to see all of you again. You can't tell, but like if you're watching this, the camera works the other way, so we can actually see you currently.
Yeah.
That's the new element to the show that we're bringing in 2025.
He's wearing a new shirt.
Dude, put some pants on.
Yeah,
dude.
what the hell?
Put some pants on. Yeah,
Ryan, speaking of seeing you,
yeah,
and I don't think the folks at home can see this because their frame's not as wide as mine, but
sure,
there are 3 Groots in your room. At least I can see 3.
I see 2. Where do you see the third one?
The poster is the one I'm assuming you're missing.
Oh yeah, you're right. He is in the poster. It's crazy. I didn't even notice that.
3 Groots, big Groot guy.
I do. I love vegetation.
Well, we know that this man loves himself a salad. Ryan, It's 2025. This is the kickoff of our. We don't want to call it a season, but it's like our first episode of the new year. We're welcoming ourselves back. Had a bit of a hiatus there. How's the year going for you? What energy are you bringing into 2025?
Year's off to a start for sure. I mean, most of where we lived, or not most of, but a large chunk of where we lived was on fire for most of the month. So, so thankfully everyone I know is safe. I would imagine for you as well. Everyone you know is safe, hopefully. Just trying times out here for that. But everybody's doing okay, and no, it's been a good start to the year. In terms of what I'm bringing into the new year, I don't know. Rain, hopefully.
Hopefully. We got a little
rain
bit.
Rain would be nice.
Just a tiny little bit.
Just a tiny little bit.
Like you heard it here first, folks. Ryan is trying to make it rain in 2025. Okay, Ryan.
First. Yeah.
We both know the person that the guest currently cannot see. This person's time is valuable. This person agreeing to come on the show is just, I think we've talked about this for a bit. Making it happen is exciting. So I don't want to waste any more time.
You mean like you're doing right now?
Like I'm doing right now by building this up. As a matter of fact, I still had about 20 minutes worth of things to say about them before I introduce them.
We'll put that in post.
Well, yeah, I'll just voice over in post with like an image of this person. I really don't even want to give too many accolades or anything like that because this person speaks for themselves. Very known for speaking for themselves, actually. So let's go ahead and bring him in, ladies and gentlemen.
What does that even mean?
You'll find out.
For speaking for themselves?
You'll find out. Yeah.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Cameron Tennyson. Cameron, welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up, guys? Thank you. I appreciate it.
I can't believe this. The fact that we were able to even get a hold of you.
Well,
were you in the same cave as Aaron Rodgers, or was it a different one?
He was in the ones that do a special salute. So I was in a different cave. Yeah,
the Cave of Wonders.
Wow. Okay. Jeez.
Cameron, welcome, dude. Hair's looking slick.
Thank you.
Yeah. Fresh
now,
cut.
I need you to be honest with us here. You sent a photo of this haircut.
Yeah.
Was it for the show because you knew you were coming on? Is that why?
Well, yeah, I didn't tell my girlfriend that was the reason, but that was 100% the reason.
What did you tell her was the reason?
That I loved her.
Oh, that's cute.
But we all know the real reason.
Actually, really quick, can you rotate your chair about maybe 45 degrees? I just want to check on the bed behind you there.
No.
Okay. No, okay. All right.
I didn't realize this is a video podcast, so
until 5 seconds ago when we unveiled you.
Yeah,
you used to hate like having the backgrounds on when we used to record back in the day. Just like we're not going to show any of this, right? It's like, no, dude, we're not going to show any of this.
Recording back.
Yeah.
I have
Well,
no
I got
idea
my-
what you're talking about.
I got my 2 posters. This was something I was doing for like I was like, oh, I want to go get frames because I have a ton of posters. You know, I worked in a movie theater for a while. Obviously, work at Warner Brothers now, and so I've got a ton of movie posters. And I went to Walmart. This would have been like probably like a year ago, and I got 2 of them. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna like because they're expensive. They're like I think they're $25
Frames are
a piece.
dumb expensive.
Yeah, and like these are the
Yeah, they
cheap
are.
ones, but like they look
yeah,
fine.
they look good.
You know, they're $25 a piece. And so I'm like,
Well-
I'm gonna buy like one of these every month and then I still have the 2.
He's just saying too. What I love, it's like
Oh,
those
fine.
behind you kind of describe like your friend flying into LAX. You know, it's like it's their La La
Yeah.
Land arrival.
Right? Yeah, no, that's
Nice.
good.
That was a good one.
And you know
Wow.
the worst part is that they're not even.
I can tell. I'm like,
I can see it too. Yeah.
So like I need to fix that, and I haven't.
it's okay. As Ryan knows, behind me, I've like slowly started framing things and putting them up. But like, I'm trying to go for this very like not clean cut, lined up. I'm putting the frames all over, and I'm gonna add some like, floating shelves and stuff. But since I haven't finished yet, it just looks like I don't know how to hang frames.
Well, and like yeah, that's great. But like the issue with mine is that like if someone saw it, they could know that I tried to have them at the same height. It's not
true.
like
Yeah.
different enough where it's like, oh, it's like, you know,
Yeah.
unique. No, they tried to be the same height. They're like, oh, this guy just sucks at measuring.
okay, I
But
gotta
it's-
ask you something about the background there, Ryan. You may have clocked this as well. Is that a red satin pillowcase, or what's going on back there?
I did clock this. Yeah.
That's my girlfriend's.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I was like, what is this like love?
Are you not
suite?
aware, Joel? Are you not aware of the satin pillowcase thing?
No,
You don't know about that?
No, is
Or
it?
like
It's for, like,
apparently,
hair.
yeah, it's for their hair. Yeah, it's like it's much your hair like just forms much better, and it's like it's softer if sleeping on a satin pillowcase.
Then
So
I need one.
I just found this out very recently that
Oh,
that
yeah.
was the case.
We've only
Yeah.
recently gotten hair.
It's true.
Ryan,
actually, yeah.
fresh back from Turkey.
I do want to show you guys something that I got recently. That
Oh, hell
I know
yeah.
I showed you guys already, but I wanted
That's
to show
sick.
everyone on the
That's
audience.
so cool.
Put your hand
Yeah,
behind it,
so
like a makeup.
This is this is a voucher to take the Warner Brothers studio tour that's at least 15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Some
So
guests
you've only got
brought
that
it
thing
in-
beat by like 2 years.
Some guests brought it in a couple weeks ago, and they were like, "Hey, is this good?" And we called management. They're like, "Yeah, we have to honor it."
That's
it's
sick.
so
I'm glad.
old.
I'm glad they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Can I take one home?" Like, they're
Yeah,
like, "Will
that's
you
cool.
use it?" I'm like, "Oh God, no! I just want to frame it."
Will I use
Are
it?
you gonna use
They
it?
could have
No,
like
yeah.
marked it on the back or something and written like void. Like,
Yeah.
there's. Are you gonna?
This
use
thing
it?
is never leaving the frame. I mean, this is such a cool vintage
Cameron, I'll give you
item.
$15.
No,
He's
the
like,
frame
okay.
cost me that.
The frames that I've been using are these little Hobby Lobby frames. They're literally called like quick frames, and you pop
Yeah.
the glass out of the front, and then you put the picture and whatever, drop it back in, and they're nice because they're same thing. They're usually like under $5. You know, and again they're
That's-
smaller. But
That's nice.
the-
Yeah.
I broke one the other day because I was trying to put a vinyl inside, so I had like the
Okay.
the vinyl
So it's too
half sticking
thick?
out of the cover, and it was just too thick. And I was like,
Yeah.
I was right there. It was like that last quarter, and then just shattered. It's a mess.
Yeah.
But anyway, you brought a topic today.
I did.
And Ryan and I are excited to both talk about it with you, but also let you just kind of cook with this thing because
I just want to learn.
yeah,
today.
this
I
is
just
very
I'm
much
here to learn.
in the Cameron wheelhouse in terms of topics, and it lines up perfectly with what this show is supposed to be. So, Cameron, why don't you go ahead and tell the folks at home what we're going to be talking about today?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am going to be talking about The Legend of Zelda today in a little less specific, the Nintendo GameCube.
GameCube.
Oh,
Nice.
okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
well, I'm going to focus on Zelda, but also I can't talk about Zelda without talking about the GameCube, because like I got the GameCube. So my next door neighbor, who's actually my roommate now, growing up,
Crazy.
Christina, I would go over to her house and play video games quite often, and they always played The Legend of Zelda. And so like this was like the game that like I essentially grew up playing. I think at that point we were playing Ocarina of Time, and so I had been asking my parents for the longest time, like, I want a GameCube, I want a GameCube, I want a GameCube. And I forget how old, because I think the GameCube came out in 2023. Or
No.
sorry,
I thought
2003. God,
Yeah.
woo.
I believe
Just
you're
also,
right.
just so everyone knows,
Yeah.
ever since COVID, my mind has been mush. It's been awful. It really sucks. 2003, I believe, is when the GameCube came out.
It was
Joel, do you
2001.
No
Was it 2001?
way, really?
November 18, 2001.
When
was
did-
I had 2001 in my head because I remember getting one, I think, that year.
That was your
So-
21st birthday, right?
Yeah.
Did Wind Waker come out in 2003? I think it came out in 2000.
That was the first Zelda game on the GameCube was Wind Waker, correct?
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess in 2000,
Coming in hot with the knowledge here, boys.
I guess in so I'm trying to think of the exact year I got it. I think it would have been maybe 2001.
Was it? Do
that I
you
got
remember? Was it like for a specific birthday or a Christmas? Or
Oh, it
anything
was
like
for
that?
Christmas. It was for Christmas.
Okay.
I had been asking for this thing. I want a GameCube. I want a GameCube. And I guess at that point I would have been 4 or 5 years old. And I can't remember the exact age, but my parents told me, "Oh no, sorry, but you have to be the next age up essentially to get a GameCube. Like that's when you can get your first console." And like, oh, so I genuinely went into Christmas thinking there is no way. You know how when you're a young kid and like, you know, your parents tell you you're not going to get you something, and
Yeah.
you trust them because why the hell?
Why
would
would they?
you trust
Yeah.
them? Yeah,
Well, but wouldn't Santa just get it for you?
Oh, this is true. Big facts.
that's true.
Yeah.
So I opened up my present, and it was a Nintendo GameCube, and like it was the most excited I'd ever been about anything up to in my
this
life
day.
up to that point. Yeah, probably even to this day. And it came with a collector's edition, and this is like a really rare game now. I was looking it up, and it sells for like $150 used. If it's brand new, I mean the value goes to the roof. Collector's edition Legend of Zelda disc that had Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and then all of like the classic Zelda games. So Legend of Zelda, which is, you know, the side scroller, the original one. Legend of Zelda 2, which is actually no, that's the side scroller where it's like instead of being like the open world, you're literally just going back and forth, which was, you know, again, like the characters going side to side, which was a change in the way that it was played. And then Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and then a demo for Wind Waker. Because I think Wind Waker was coming out that next year, or it had just like come out. I forget. Maybe I got the console. I'm thinking I got the console in 2002, because Wind Waker had just came out, and then I got Wind Waker that next year. I had heart surgery.
Yeah,
and I got it
Wind
as
Waker.
a gift.
Wind Waker was December 13th, 2002.
2002. Yeah, so I think that's the year I got my the GameCube.
That's
so
when PS2
I would have
came
been
out that year, right? That was the.
I would have been 5 years old. Yeah. Anyway, so
Excuse me. Pardon me. March 24th, 2003 in North America, where we live. So
is when Wind Waker
Wind
came
Waker,
out.
yeah,
Okay,
so
yeah, so
March
that makes
2023,
sense.
or 2003.
You know, my friend Christina, she actually got Wind Waker like I think 2 days early because her brother was stationed in Iraq, and it had already come out there, and so he sent it to us. And we got
Yeah,
it
that's
before it came out in the U.S. and
That's
so,
really
like,
cool.
Like, you know, I got a call from, you know, from Christina's mom, and they're like, "Oh, we got the game. Come on over." And I remember playing it before it came out to anyone else, and that was, you know, just another really cool memory.
You probably
But-
felt like the coolest kid in the world. Like that next
Yeah,
day,
yeah.
well,
like being like just be like, I got to play the game already. You guys
And-
suck.
Did you play the
You
whole
know-
thing? Like that night?
No, because Zelda games, they take a long
Yeah.
time to be.
I
I
was
mean,
just-
well, especially Wind Waker. Sorry, go ahead, Joel.
No, I was gonna say in preparation for this, actually, my buddy has his N64 set up right now to like an old TV.
Yeah.
And I was gonna go over there and like try and play through as much of Ocarina of Time as I could. And it's got like 24 hours of gameplay or something like that, which like
Yeah, you would have just had to move in.
yeah,
basically.
like for me
Well-
especially, like I'm not a big gamer. I would have been like, this is like no way, you know.
You know that you can play Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask on Switch, right?
Yeah, but that's not as fun.
Well, yeah. But I
It's valid.
just
On
Yeah.
that note, though, really quick, this popped up just by happenstance the other day on my Twitter. The N64, okay, this was in 1998, okay. They had the N64 Super Mario set, and it came with Super Mario 64, the console, 2 controllers, okay. I want you to tell me what you think the price of that was, but also 98, I believe, was the year that Ocarina of Time came out. I want you to tell me how much you think that was on the N64. So I'll let you both each
just the game
the
itself.
game
how
by
much it costs?
itself, and then I want you to tell me how much you think it was for the console that came with the 2 controllers and Super Mario 64.
Cameron, why don't you go first?
So I think, and this is like the interesting thing with like inflation in the whole video game world, is that like historically, video games cost so much more than they do now.
Yeah.
Like the fact that people were getting upset that video games were going from $60 to $70 with inflation, like video games were literally about the cheapest they had ever been in the past few years. So like I think the console that you're talking about, Joel, is like I'm gonna bet like $300. And then I'd say like a single game maybe costs $50, maybe $40. But like, which again back then is so much more expensive than it would be right
And
now.
I should have said this too. I don't know if this makes any difference for either of you guys. This is the 1998 Sears Christmas catalog, by the way. So this is being sold through Sears, if that makes any difference for you.
So this is console, 2 controllers, and game.
Console, 2 controllers, and Mario 64, yeah. And then separately, how much you think Zelda costs.
Honestly, I think I'm gonna go. I said 300. I think I might go up to 350.
Okay.
Okay.
And yeah, I think for the game, I'm gonna guess 40, maybe 50. But I think it's gonna be higher than most people would think.
And Ryan?
I think. See, I was fairly cognizant around this time, enough so to like maybe try and reach back into my brain and
25 is
remember
pretty
how
cognizant,
much
yeah.
this stuff. I think the game. I think Cameron's in the right ballpark. I'm gonna go $49.99. I think that's a good price. If it was $39.99, I wouldn't be shocked. But that just feels low to say a video game. Even back then, began with a 3 in the front of it. That just feels low. So I'm gonna guess $49.99 for the game, and then the console. So you factor in they would probably do a discount for the game itself. I'm thinking the console was about $200 by itself, so I'm gonna go $249.99 for the console grouping.
Okay. So for the Super Mario set, console game, and 2 controllers, $219.99.
Wow.
The console by
Oh,
itself
shit.
was selling for $129, and that's console with
Really?
one controller.
$130 just
Yes.
for the N64.
See, this I look like an idiot now because this whole
but no. Here's where and I actually think we may have discussed this before on past lives. The game by itself, $69.99 for Ocarina of
Zelda?
Time.
No way.
Yeah.
No way.
Really? Okay, so at
And
least I'm like half
almost
right.
all of the games are about $65.
Seriously.
Yeah, actually, every game except Zelda and F1 World Grand Prix, those two are both $69.99. Every
Who's
other game.
paying $70 for F1? I'm sorry. No, who's doing that?
Well, and it's so funny looking at some of these old games too, because it's like, I mean, I remember Ken Griffey Baseball. That was the first baseball video game I ever played. But like, there's the golf game that's on here is Wailea Country Club. Like, it wasn't even like branded or anything like that, and they're charging
Right.
$65.
God,
And
damn.
Kobe Bryant courtside, like, so. But yeah,
Okay.
it is crazy going back to what you were saying, Cameron. Like, I'm one of these people. Like, I remember when I was younger, like, I got my PS2 and buying games for that. It was like, yeah, games $45, games, whatever, $50. And now I'm seeing you're buying games, for $60, $70 sometimes, and it seems insane. But right here, 1998, it was.
I just looked this up because like I was really curious about it. That's $125, like in today's money. So that's
Just
how
for
much
the game.
that's just for the game.
Yeah.
Which is like, again, this is like super out there. Like, why is he talking about this? But like, the gaming industry is in a really bad shape right now. I mean, lots of industries are, but the gaming industry is in really, really bad shape. And part of the reason is because they're still stuck to that $60, $70 mark. And so gaming companies are hoping that when Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out, that they charge $100 for it. Because if they charge $100, then they can go, hey, we're going to follow up. We're not going to charge $100 because GTA 6 should, is like the kind of industry high point. No one else is doing what Rockstar's doing. But they're like, maybe then we can start selling our games for $80 or $90 and then, gain a little bit more money that way. Because I mean, if we're talking back in 98, they were selling games for $65. Like,
Yeah.
And see, this is where, as someone who's not a gamer, and Cameron, I think you're aware of this. I've gotten really into Fortnite. I used to never game, and I've gotten really into Fortnite. It started off as just a weekends thing. It started off as, okay, maybe I'll play on Wednesdays. Okay, oh, you know what? I'll play on Mondays too. And now it's like almost every night I'm getting at least 2 matches in. Sometimes, I go on for a little bit. And one of the big reasons that I even got into it is because of the fact that it's free, you know, and obviously, you pay if you want to get skins and stuff like that. And like I bought the battle pass, and I play enough that I don't have to keep buying it. But I bought the battle pass. I recently paid for a Batman skin that came out, so it's like they are getting money from me in a way. But it's like, for me, someone who is not a gamer, hearing you say something like that, where it's like, yeah, they might start charging $100 for Grand Theft Auto 6. My mind is almost like, I may never play anything other than Fortnite then. Why am I, someone who, I'm not as invested in video games, why am I going to be dropping $100 to play a game that I'm going to pay $700 for a console to play it on? You know what I mean? Like, so it's crazy, like.
I think the age of like people buying like a new game every month or whatever to just like, oh, like I'm gonna build up my crazy gaming library. I think those days might be over, honestly. I think like people are kind of settle into the like one game that they really want to play. Some cases it's for a couple months. Some cases, some of us have games we've been playing for years because they're still supporting them. And it's like, I don't really have time to dive into a bunch of other. My gaming catalog is crazy deep, and I have no time to get into them because I'm just enjoying like the one game that I've already invested money into. That I'm good with that. Like I don't know. It's just interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean the whole gaming industry is trying to currently figure out what they're supposed to be doing. Joel, you talk about Fortnite. That's considered a game as a service. So there's these games that they're constantly putting out new updates. Live service games is another name for them, and they never essentially end. Obviously, compared to something like Legend of Zelda, where there's a beginning and end. Lots of most games in the history of video games have been, just typical. You start, you finish, that's the game. There might be side quests or whatever, but maybe they put out a DLC, but still, when you're done with that, you're done. There was this massive push in the gaming industry when they saw the success of Fortnite, when they saw the success of Destiny, when they saw the success of Overwatch and, these other games, to try and make a lot of those same services. Warframe is another really popular one on PC. And Sony specifically put so much money into developing all of these games. They were trying to make a Last of Us game, which I'm really sad it got canceled because they were putting so much money into it. They were working on a Horizon game, which the MMO, which the latest report is that's got canceled as well. That one's still kind of, no one really knows for sure, but the report is it got canceled. They've put out, and then they had like the biggest catastrophe of all time, gaming wise, which is a game called Concord. I don't know if you've heard about it, Joel. I know Ryan is like.
I don't think it was mainstream enough for Joel to even catch that it existed.
Yeah, so Concord was essentially like Overwatch. It was just, it looked different, and they did it. You talked about, Joel, you said, "Oh, I play Fortnite because it's free." Yeah, that's how all of these hero shooters or these shooters are supposed to be now.
Yeah,
They made Halo
Marvel Rivals
free.
is the big one now.
Yeah, Marvel Rivals is huge.
Yep.
Microsoft made Halo free. Halo,
Yeah.
one of
Yeah.
the biggest multiplayer games of all time. The only one that's really not the big multiplayer game that's you still have to pay for is Call of Duty.
Call of Duty.
But you don't even have to pay for Warfare or what's it called? Warzone.
Warzone?
You don't have to pay for Warzone.
Warzones,
That's
yeah.
free. And so Sony came out and they said, "Hey, we've got this 5v5 game that is essentially a free-to-play game, but you have to pay $40 for it." And exactly what you're saying, Joel. Why would I pay $40 for it when I could go play Overwatch or Marvel Rivals or
Right.
anything else, for free? And that game, I kid you not, Joel, you're going to find this funny.
Yeah, you are.
They spent, I think the number is $250 million. It might actually be more than that. I think they $250 million on this game. The game was live for 2 weeks. They shut it down and canceled it. And they didn't go, "Oh, let's move it to free to play." They shut it down after 2 weeks.
Cut their losses. It's like
Yeah.
like the Insidious live show.
$250 million. Now, I'm not trying to. Obviously, everyone who works in that studio absolutely sucks for them. But it just kind of shows how all of these studios went through a phase where they were trying to make these live service games because they saw the success of Fortnite, and it has failed spectacularly for so many of them. Probably 90% of them. And I think part of it is like you can play Fortnite on your phone.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
100%. Well, not out here. Not in the U.S.
Yeah.
Wait, you can't play Fortnite on your phone in the US anymore?
No, because there's actually
Is it because of that Apple?
I have no idea.
think
There's
it-
like a
I
because there's
think
like a
it's 'cause of
skin right now
Amazon.
that it's like, oh, like log in on your phone, and because I used to have it on my phone like way whenever when I
think
first tried it out, but it's you can't get.
I
it
think that
anymore.
has to do with the Epic versus Apple thing, where
Probably.
like Epic, because if you have to pay Apple like a percentage, Apple gets a percentage of your in-game, if you buy in-game currency,
Right.
they get a little bit of it. Okay, interesting. But like it's the same thing with like Genshin Impact and those games. Like was that Zoneless Zero or something like that? And Honkai Star Rail. You can play those on your phone, and again, they're free. And
I mean, even Call of
there's-
Duty, like again, it's
Yeah.
a way different experience, but Call of Duty Mobile exists, and
Yeah.
there's all these Marvel games, even things as simple as Pokemon now. Like I've got that stupid TCG app on my phone. It just is something
Oh,
to do
yeah.
every day where I'm ripping
Yeah.
Pokemon cards in my pocket. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
it's-
It's like, and like, but I can go to the store
But
and
that's-
buy, $25 packs of Pokemon cards.
And that's how companies are making their money now, because that's constant revenue. That's never ending. When you release a game, when they, and this is why Nintendo is so great, because Nintendo, obviously, they have their issues when it comes to like emulation and taking down, different competitions. Melee. That's a whole thing. But like when it comes to their games, they consistently make these quality games that they don't throw in this live service stuff. And I think live service games are have their place. I like Destiny. I as you said, Fortnite is great as well. But like we all like at the end of the day, we want to be able to play a game that like we're kind of thrown into a world and we can just kind of explore
Yeah.
that world at our own pace. And we find things and we solve puzzles. Like, I don't know about you guys. I think my history with video games and me growing up with video games, having Legend of Zelda be my first video game, I'm going to be honest, I think it ruined video games for me. Because, like,
It set a high expectation for you.
yeah, because I play video games. I don't want to say quite a bit. Like typically, if I was playing video games, it'd be League of Legends, or maybe like I'd play another game for like a few minutes and then turn it off. No video game has really ever been able to suck me in and keep my attention. And
What
I
about
don't find
Kirby?
it nearly as interesting. Yeah, Kirby's fun. I did play Kirby a lot on my
Kirby
Game
suck
Boy
you
growing
in?
up. He did, yeah. But none of them do what Zelda does.
And you
And
know,
I have
that's a really good point because you say that, and when I think of my first experiences with video games, the first video game I can consciously remember playing was Madden, way back when, like the OG
Yeah, yeah.
Madden. And again, what do
Yeah.
I play mostly? Sports video games. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I don't care for story games. You know, so like you said, you started off hot. You came in hot with one of the most iconic video game franchises of all time.
Yeah.
That had to have had an impact on your future with video games.
I hate story games so much. I hate them. If I wanted to have a story in a video game, I'd just watch a movie
Just
or
watch
a
a
show.
movie.
Yeah. That was like The Last of Us. Like when The Last of Us came out and everyone's like, "Oh my god, it's amazing." I went to the store, I bought it, I started playing it. I'm like, this is so boring. You just walk around and like then a zombie comes up and you press the button a couple times and then like, oh, you killed him, and then you keep walking and then like every once in a while you get the story. But like I stopped playing after like a half hour because I'm like, they're eventually going to make a movie of this.
Oh yeah.
And they made a
they
TV
show, and and I enjoyed the TV show.
Yeah, it's
like
good.
it's an interesting story, but like don't give me boring gameplay and a good story. Like I don't care about the story. I want to play a game. That's why I'm playing a video game.
I feel like I may have derailed the conversation quite a bit
It's okay.
because I know you want to talk
Can I-
about Zelda.
can I ask a
So let's
question
do this.
first?
Let's take a quick.
Can I ask a question
Oh
first?
yes.
Yeah, and maybe we can come back in with this. If Kirby were to suck up the three of us separately, what would change about his design for each of us? And we'll come back with that answer after this quick little break.
All right, we're back, and Ryan posed us with a phenomenal question going into the break. If Kirby
you.
were to suck us, what would change about Kirby? Cameron, do you have yours already? I think I have mine.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
okay. What is it?
Yeah. I would just be it'd be an iPhone. He turned into an iPhone that's open to AMC A-list. That's what I talk about. AMC A-list everywhere I go. I hear someone talk about movies. Oh, you have AMC A-list. You save a bunch of money.
You would.
They should just let
Hey,
you advertise
yeah.
for
Dude,
them.
you need
Yeah.
that hat that Americana brand memes makes. Have you seen that hat?
No.
It's literally a hat that says like something like "Yes, I am an AMC A-lister. Ask me anything" or something like that.
Heck yeah.
For me, Ryan,
I know I don't know what your answer is going to be, but I know your
You
answer
know-
is either wrong or the correct
you know
one.
the direction my answer's going.
I hope so.
Kirby, unfortunately, would probably actually get bigger because Kirby would just be eating more. I don't know how to symbolize that physically on Kirby. Maybe he'd have a bib
No,
now.
You're wrong. He'd get your
Okay.
He'd get your hair.
My hair.
He'd get your
See,
hair,
I
your
was thinking-
coiffed hair.
I was thinking
Yeah,
more
that's what he
traits.
would
If we're
get.
talking or like personality trait, I guess we're talking physically, because it's a little bit
Well,
of
he
mix.
doesn't-
Yeah, 'cause,
he
like, he,
it's a
like,
mix
kinda
of both, 'cause
changes
he
into something.
Yeah,
changes-
he
yeah.
changes physically, and he also gets an attack.
an ability.
for
Yeah,
every
okay. So
person.
his attack would
Yeah.
be eat more, and yes, his physical his physical thing for me would
His
be my
ability
hair.
is that he can still suck up another
I
character.
I just imagine him with like a Taco Bell burrito, like
Yeah.
slapping people. with
Cameron
it. Yeah.
Cameron's Kirby likes AMC A-list and is also constantly ticking.
That's-
Everyone's always worried. They're like, "Oh God, is it gonna blow?"
No, just suck.
He's like, "No, I suck."
Ryan, what about you?
Oh, I don't have to answer that. You know why?
Oh, why is that, Ryan? Cameron has no
because-
clue what you're about to say.
Because
Yeah.
because that, folks, was today's edition of the Ryan Inquisition.
Nice.
Every episode, Ryan
did it,
asks me a
everyone.
question, and I was wondering if he was going to include you today. I assumed he would.
I did.
Gotcha.
So there's that, and I always hate it because he doesn't have to answer. But you know what, Cameron?
Nope.
We can answer for him. So I think Kirby would get a salad, and probably
throw salads at
probably
people?
stretch a little bit, like be tall.
Okay. I'm thinking like he. Well, I'm thinking like we go straight to like the background actor thing. And then when I think of background actor, for some reason, my mind instantly goes to like a period piece. So like a suit and like a jacket
Ash, eh?
and a fedora. Yeah,
Ryan
exactly.
has been wearing fedoras lately too.
That's just
and
regularly
then
though.
and then his power is like he like flips a coin at someone. Like, hey kid, here you go.
Hey, 23 skidoo, kid.
Okay.
Give me a spit shine, kid. Make me see.
exactly.
I want to see
Yeah.
my face in my shoes.
Oh, spit shine from the old Kirby. Yeah.
He sucks, he blows, he spits. It's great.
He's gonna release a meme coin here soon and screw us all over. So that
Like the Hawk Tuah girl.
there we go. You got it, Ryan. Good job,
Yeah,
buddy.
rip.
So I like I said, I think I kind of derailed that first half. I know you wanted to talk about The Legend of Zelda. Now I will admit,
Heck yeah.
and I don't know if I've already said this, but I for sure know I know the least about the games. I have very little experience. Ryan's like, I don't know. I've got very little experience.
Me too.
But that said, we know that's going to happen. We bring guests on, and that's the whole
Yep.
reason we bring guests on is because we want you to tell us about it. We want you to show your passion for it, why you're so reminiscent about it, why when you think back to your childhood and kind of this throwbacky mindset, this is what comes to your mind. So please,
I would just like to share in my ineptitude of this franchise.
no, thank you. We
as
don't have
well.
time. So Cameron, go.
I would just like to say I have owned 2 Zelda games in my lifetime. It was Majora's Mask on the N64 and Breath of the Wild on the Switch, and the same thing happened both times. I played for like an hour and was like, I don't know what it is, but this just doesn't feel like it's for me, and I never played them again.
Gotcha.
And you said before, Cameron, you're not like a story gamer. I am a story gamer.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I like, and you know that about me. And for whatever reason, those games just can't suck me in. Maybe it's just
What about
because the
Kirby?
protagonist. I know he does. Maybe it's just because the protagonist doesn't really have any dialogue. I don't know if that bothers me or not. I don't know what it is, but the fact that it's happened twice at 2 very different points in my life, I'm just really curious about that. So I am very much looking forward to hearing you wax poetically about what I would argue is the second or third most popular franchise by Nintendo. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if we're talking about video games in general, Legend of Zelda is, and this is my opinion, but it's also kind of going based off of how critics and developers look back at the Legend of Zelda series. Honestly, it's a lot of people consider it to be the best video game series ever created.
Okay. Take that, Pokemon.
Zelda has always, like from the very beginning, encouraged this idea of exploration and this idea of there not necessarily being a set path. I mean, we're talking about video games for the longest time. I mean, even nowadays, so many games are go here, do this, follow this point, follow these things, do these tasks, and you'll get to a certain spot. And that's if they're like, I'm even like talking about open world games. Like, I don't know about you guys, but like open world games, they seem really fun in theory. And then you play them and you're like, well, it's not really open world. Like, yeah, I could technically go wherever I wanted. Right. But
if
yeah,
you want
like
to
I have
progress
to,
in the
I'm
game,
still
you need to do things.
Yeah, and there's like nothing to do around the world. It's like, yeah, I could go over there and, buy something from someone, or, if I, break those boxes, there might be some extra loot or whatever. But pretty much you're just trying to go from point A to point B, and there's a bunch of emptiness around you, and that's quote unquote the open world. And Zelda has never really been like that. Again, it's all about exploration. There's all these different places that you can go, and even in the very earliest game, you didn't necessarily have to do things in a specific order. The newer games, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, they take that idea, not having to do things in order, to the absolute max in a way that pretty much no video game has ever done. I mean, they are the ultimate sandbox. Let's go back to the originals. because I will talk about Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. But like this idea that you are the protagonist and you are figuring out these things without really anyone telling you, like tutorials. I hate tutorials so much in video games. They're like, oh, press L to, press L forward to run. Yeah, I know how to go forward in a video game, man. I've played video games before. Like, oh, what do these sticks do? And the Zelda games never really did anything like that. They just kind of let you go, and you could kind of experience pretty much the whole game from the beginning. I really started, my first Zelda game was Ocarina of Time. And Ocarina of Time, again, is considered to be one of the greatest video games ever created. I mean, it was an extremely revolutionary game. It looked so good for the time. I mean, you look back at it nowadays and you're like, oh, what? This looks bad. It looks so good back in the time. Again, it like let you into this world, and there was so much that you could do. You didn't have to do it, but there was so much you could do. But the thing was, it wasn't like a lot of open world games nowadays where it's like, oh, you could go do this small side quest and get like $50 for it. Now you got money. No. The Zelda side quests were like, oh, well, if you want, you could go, talk to this guy and find out that he's sad, and then talk to someone else a little bit later, find out that she's sad, and then be a matchmaker. And they give you like this special spell, or like in Ocarina of Time, you can get like this really big sword. So in the final boss battle, typically you have to like time your swing to try and like bounce like the object back and forth between you and Ganondorf. But if you do like this line of quests, they give you this giant sword, and instead of like timing the hit, you can just hold up the sword. And it just deflects. And so like that's like your reward for going and doing this stuff. So like the stuff that you're doing on the side, it matters from a gameplay perspective. It's not just busy work. It's changing how the game works at the time, when you're doing it, versus going all the way back to the final boss. And it matters. And that was such a revolutionary thing to happen in video games. And that was just one example from Ocarina of Time. There are lots of things in Ocarina of Time. And it's still a revolutionary thing because barely any games do that. Again, the idea of open world games are so much fun until you get into an open world and you're like, this sucks.
Do you think that that's something that keeps, this franchise as successful as it is the fact that no one else has been able to sort of match it? Like, do you think if Red Dead or Grand Theft Auto were to be able to kind of give you that same feeling and that same freedom that you're getting from Zelda, do you think games like that would have overtaken Zelda and it would kind of have lost its lust? Or do you think that this is just a franchise and IP that people care about enough that no matter what, years from now when new games are coming out, people are still going to be just as excited about another Zelda game as they were now 10 years ago, 20 years ago?
People are always going to be excited about Zelda.
Yes.
And the reason why... Sorry.
He's getting choked up, folks. This means a lot to him.
I get it.
Well, and the reason why is because Zelda is always improving and trying new things and continually revolutionizing how video games are made.
Yeah.
And after each Zelda comes out, and they because each Zelda typically will do its own thing, there will be a lot of copycats that look very similar and do a lot of the same things. But to that point, no one had done any of that. No one had even tried. In fact, the most recent Zelda game, Tears of the Kingdom, I highly doubt anyone will ever try what Tears of the Kingdom did in the next 5-10 years, because the technology and like I said, we'll get to the Breath of the Wild, the Tears of the Kingdom stuff, but essentially what they did is they made it so that we kind of talked about how the world is your sandbox. Well, in Tears of the Kingdom, they made it so that it literally is your sandbox. they gave you tools where you could connect literally anything in the world and essentially build these machines, whether it's an airplane, whether it's like a car or a vehicle of some sort, whether it's like these gun machines. I mean, if you go on YouTube right now, you can look up like Tears of the Kingdom builds, and people have built like mechs and like use them to like fight bosses, because the game is just like, obviously when they're making it, they don't have a limit to what, you know,
Right.
they're like what they're not making these things that these people are making, but they've created an engine, and they've created that allows those people to make that stuff. And it's that creation of the engine that makes it so much harder to duplicate or replicate than any of the other Zelda games before, because they had to figure out how to make it so that the game wouldn't constantly break.
Yeah.
While people were trying all of these crazy things. But I think one of the things, like, Zelda is such a perfect combination of not just exploration, but there's also like there's puzzles and the dungeons, and they're not like puzzles like, you know, where you like walk up to a wall and it's like, oh, you know, kind of rearrange the blocks,
Right.
so you know you can get like you know, get the picture, and then that solves, and then the door opens and moves on. No, they're like environmental puzzles, and you kind of have to think about them, and they're brain twisters. And so a lot, and this is why I love Zelda games so much. Whenever I play them, I feel like my mind is being, you know, interacted with and like challenged, and like there's a little bit of like something there that's like, okay, I got to think about this for a little bit. And that challenge, that mental challenge, is something that not enough video games do, you know. And yeah, I'm sure that some people, they get into, I love puzzle games. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the game The Witness. It's like this game that it's like you essentially have to learn like this whole new language to like understand like how it works. Like it's crazy. I love puzzle games, and Zelda is like a combination of exploration, puzzles, and there's a little bit of story in there. Breath of the Wild's really cool because, so with Ocarina of Time. That was the one I grew up playing. Majora's Mask. That one's funny. Ryan, have you played Majora's Mask?
Just the very beginning. Like maybe
Yeah.
the first hour.
So, like I said, I got the Legend of Zelda Collector's Edition, and it had all those games, including Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask. I thought, because I was a kid and I was stupid, in Majora's Mask, there's like the beginning of the game is that you have to do a certain thing within 3 days of the game's time, or else like the moon crashes into the world and then it restarts. So I thought, because again, I was an idiot, that it was just a short little extra from Ocarina of Time. It took me years to realize it was an entire Legend of Zelda game behind
So
it.
you were just not completing said task, and the game would restart. You thought
Yeah.
that was the end.
I just thought that was the end. I didn't know you could go any further than that. I just thought that
That's
was the
funny.
end. So I actually have never played Majora's Mask all the way through. I've never gotten past that first.
In terms of like, I know you said like that's like in game 3 days, but in terms of like
Yeah.
actual playtime, like how much was that?
it's like 2 hours.
So
3 hours maybe.
Okay, so that's what I was wondering. Like, you only got 2 hours into the game, you were like, "Damn, that sucked." Like,
Yeah, no, I played it multiple times, and I was just like, oh, this is fun. And literally, it wasn't until later that I found out there was like a whole like actual game behind it. But again, like that's something like that whole. Could you imagine a video game doing that now?
no, for real.
No, it's again, it's revolutionary. Like,
Yeah.
of course, as a kid, I didn't expect to be because, like, why would a video game do
Yeah.
that? Why would it restart and like not tell like, oh, you have to go do this specific thing at that time? No, of course, I was confused by it. Wind Waker came out, as we talked
Sounds
about
like a Bond
in
movie.
2023, and that game was different because it had the what people called cartoonish look back
That was
then.
Toon Link era.
Toon Link, and and that was the cell shading, and that game was again it proved the formula, and it again revolutionized the game, and it became this exploration through water. And there's all of these different islands that you could go to, and again, if you go to the different islands, they can improve. You can find keys that go to certain things that will give you more hearts, or you can find these items that again will improve the game and make you stronger as it goes on, and like it feels so meaningful. You can find treasure chests, and sometimes the treasure chest will have a treasure map, and then you can take that treasure map and go explore and get the treasure. And again, there was so much about that game that was just so revolutionary. And then came Twilight Princess, and I believe that was 2006, maybe 2005. I think it was 2006. And I remember being really scared about that one coming out because when Christina and I had seen it at the Target display, this was like a year before it came out, it said rated M. And I was like, oh, God, are they making a rated M Legend of Zelda? My mom will never let me play that. And it came out and it was rated T, and all the games before that had been E.
For everyone.
Yeah, E for everyone. And my mom was like, no, you can't play it. So like Christina's mom.
Did she look
got
up on a
the phone.
website to see if it was okay for you to play?
She just didn't want me to play rated T games because
I was in the same space.
I
I wasn't allowed to play Sims
9 years
growing
old.
up because the
Yeah.
person at Toys R Us was like, yeah, sometimes
Yeah.
the Sims kiss each other.
No, he was leaving out the part that they'll like have sex.
Yeah,
too,
no, I
so.
think he was alluding to it.
Yeah.
So like Christina's mom had to call my mom and like, I've been watching Christina play this game all morning. It's just the same thing. There's some monster blood, but it's really not inappropriate. And my mom's like, okay, I guess you can go over and watch it. Tears of the King, or not Tears of the, Twilight Princess had this this thing that, because like in that one you played as a wolf who was also Link. Like Link could transform back and forth.
Right. Yeah.
And there was like a quest.
Hence the Twilight part.
When there was like a quest where you had to get a certain amount of tears. There were like these things that were like hidden around, and then once you got all those tears, you could like transfer them back into the human. And like I could for the life of me could not get one of these tears. Had no clue where it was, so I just stopped playing that game. And it was like, I think I was like 10 hours into it. So like I still have so much more.
You
of that
just
game.
have like a polite
like,
rage quitness about you, Cameron. Just like,
Yeah.
oh, like I
Well-
guess this is it. Yeah.
And that one didn't really bother me too much because I preferred the other Zelda games at that time anyway. And then I think, okay. Oh, and then Skyward Sword was the next one to come out after that. Skyward Sword was the one that utilized the Wii remote quite a bit.
The Wiimote, if
the
you
Wii
will.
Motion Plus. And people really didn't like that because you had to swing the remote in
Yeah.
like a
And people are
certain
lazy.
way. Yeah, you had to like go like diagonal or sideways or up from down to up.
Just Dance, Legend of Zelda.
Pretty much. I really like Skyward Sword quite a bit. That one, chronologically. Now I won't get into like the chronological order of these games because like the timeline is like crazy.
Massive.
It's insane. Yeah, and like it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But that one's really fun because it kind of it shows the beginning of Link and Zelda. Like chronologically, that's the first.
It's the Tokyo
one. That's the one
Drift.
they're like. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's a great analogy, actually. That was
And
really good.
it's set in Japan, so it
Wow.
it works, right?
Whoa! Hey! All right.
Yeah, great, absolutely great game. And then I literally think that the next one, I feel like I'm missing one.
What was the Wii U game for them?
I don't think there was a Wii U game.
Another reason why the Wii U didn't work out.
Damn.
I think they remade Wind Waker. They gave Wind Waker a HD remake, but I literally think that the next one was.
Yeah, I'm just the only
Breath
one.
of the
The only
Wild?
console one I'm seeing. It's Breath of the Wild is next. The other two were 3DS games.
Yeah, because Breath of the
Wow.
Wild came out at the very end of the Wii U, very beginning of the Switch.
Mhm. That's exactly.
Oh,
what it
you're
is.
right. I forgot about that. Yeah, I
2017.
forgot that was
So-
I forgot that was originally a Wii U game.
So then that brings us to Breath of the Wild. Now, when you talk about like the Zelda community, the community is very split on Breath of the Wild, because essentially how it worked in the other games was I talked about like the freedom, but there was still kind of like this path that you would take. You would go and you would do these dungeons, and in these dungeons, each dungeon that was supposed to be done essentially in an order. There were some dungeons you could kind of do in optional order, but you would get an item, right? Like a hammer or a boomerang or a slingshot or something of the sort. And then in the next, from then on, pretty much all of the game required you to use those things, right? And so as you went further onto the game, the puzzles maybe got a little bit more involved and complex, and they required you to use all of those different items. And those dungeons, the puzzles were really, really great. And I love dungeons. Typically, people who love Zelda love dungeons. So then Breath of the Wild comes out. And it's still a Zelda game, but they completely shift away from the dungeon system. And this is every Zelda fan's biggest issue with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. These games are revolutionary. I mean, once again, I've been saying that word a lot. There are so many Breath of the Wild rehashes. Like, there was this game that came out. Oh, what was it called? It was Immortals.
Oh, I know what
Phoenix
you're talking
Rising.
about.
Yeah, Immortals Phoenix Rising. That
Yep.
was like literally an exact copy of Breath of the Wild. It was fun. I loved it. Because it was, it copied Zelda, and it did a good job copying Zelda. Was it Zelda? No. But because Zelda kind of put forward this, path on how to make a good game in this way, they followed, and I had fun with it. It wasn't Zelda. But what they did in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom is they kind of start you off at this tutorial world. And they give you all of the tools that you need for the rest of the game in the first 2 hours. So from that point on, you can quite literally go and do anything. The story is not done in order. There's not because there's like, I think the way they do it is there's like memories. So like when you go to a certain place, Link will remember something, and it'll play a little cutscene with him and Zelda, or him and another character. And you'll get those throughout. So the story is fractured, and it's by there not being necessarily, there's the beginning and then the very end, and then everything else, it's kind of up to you deciding when you see these things. And so the story works no matter what way you get the memories.
Breath of the Wild is the closest that I've come to playing another Zelda game, and it's because of you. Like you have constantly told me you've wanted to lend it to me, and we just we haven't made it happen or whatever. But like, it's been the closest that I've been to getting around to trying another Zelda game at all.
Well, it's the highest selling Zelda game of all time. It's one of Nintendo's highest selling games, and because like again, you have this level of freedom that literally no game has ever allowed. Like, the character, once you get done with the tutorial world, he says something to the effect of, "Oh yeah, well, I would highly recommend going to the Zoro's domain now." And when he said that, I'm like, hell no, I'm going this other way. And I went and I did a whole, like, there's like 4 big dungeons, the beasts. I forget, they're not called Fantastic Beasts. I forget what they're exactly called, but like the beasts that you'll do, and those are like the dungeons, which really aren't that great, and that's an issue that a lot of people have. I went there to like this lightning desert world, did the stuff, went to the fire area, did that stuff, went to I think like the bird area, did their stuff, and then I went to Zora, the very last one. And like, again, if I followed what they wanted, like what they suggested, it would have been Zora first, the water one first. But as you're going around, there's like all of these like little itty bitty puzzles. There's shrines, and like with each shrine you do, you can increase like your hearts or your stamina, and they're like little mini tiny puzzles, or combats or whatever. and they're littered throughout. So no matter where you're going, there's always something to do, and there's always something to find. And it fixes that that issue that so many open world games have, which is just like, oh, I'm just going to go from point A to point B. When you play Breath of the Wild, you get lost in it.
Yeah.
You'll start playing and you go, okay, well, for this session, I'm going to go do this.
Right.
And then you start playing, and 3 hours later, you haven't done what you wanted to go do. You're doing something else. And there's no other game that has done that. Listen, I know people love Grand Theft Auto. I know they love Grand Theft Auto. Ryan, you played Grand Theft Auto?
Yep. Yeah, I did.
Joel, have you played Grand Theft Auto? Okay. In Grand Theft Auto 5,
Yeah.
is there anything to do in that world?
Like you could like go like play a round of golf. Or,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say, like, yeah.
Yeah. And how fun
like-
is that?
It's pretty fun. Yeah. I mean, it's
For
cool.
like 10
Like, I
minutes,
was gonna say,
right?
like, maybe like the
Yeah.
first time you try it, like,
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
cool.
if I
it's
wanted
cool
to do that, I'll
once.
just go play PGA, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
You ever go
Yeah.
back and do that? Like, you ever go back and play tennis again?
No.
No.
You don't. Like, there's not a lot to do. There's not much to explore. Like, yeah, it's cool seeing, Los Santos and, driving around and seeing that. But, like, are you really doing anything? Not really.
Yeah.
When you have a mission to go to a certain place, you're just driving there.
Yeah.
You're not stopping, getting out on the way to like go explore an area. No, you're just driving there. That's not how it works in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. You are there's constantly something that you see. Like, oh, there's a dragon flying in the sky. No one said anything about a dragon anywhere else. There's just a dragon. I'm going to go check that out. And there's constantly stuff like that happening in Breath of the Wild. And then you get to Tears of the Kingdom. And it takes everything that you know about Breath of the Wild. And one of the big conversations going into Breath of the Wild, or Tears of the Kingdom, was like, oh, they're using the same map. Because they were using the same map. That was, that was but it's complete, like, it's the same map, but everything about it is different. There's different things in different places. Like, it's supposed to be, I forget how many years afterwards, but like, there's been like so much like stuff that has happened to this world that you're still, even though you've seen it all before, it's in a completely different context, and there's a bunch of new things to do around it. Then put in on top of that there's the sky world. And you can like there's sky islands, and you can like make these things that can, again, because you're building stuff, and you can fly up to the sky islands, and there's like a bunch of different ones, and each one kind of has like its own puzzle as well. And then on top of this, and listen, guys, this is a spoiler.
Well, great. Now I'm never
Is
going
it
to
okay if I say it?
Listeners,
care.
listeners, there's a
Yeah, I don't
spoiler.
care. Yeah.
They didn't mention this in the marketing whatsoever. They talked about the sky islands. There is a whole world underneath the map as well. And when you go down there, it is complete pitch black. It's a completely different game from everything you've done so far. Because like, there's like this like special like substance down there that's like poisonous, and you're trying to like light your way. You're like, you get like these like light pods, and you can throw them, and it's like you lighten your way, and your goal is to kind of light up the area. And like, there's special monsters down there. So there's a world on top, there's a world on bottom, and then there's the world. And it's just such a massive game. And like, I haven't beat Tears of the Kingdom because it's almost to the point where it's overwhelming and too intimidating to get into it. I beat Breath of the Wild, no problem. I enjoyed Breath of the Wild. Now, but Tears of the Kingdom, it's just such a massive game. Now, when it comes to those games, again, a lot of people are really mixed on. A lot of Zelda fans wish that they had better dungeons, and that is the big thing. That the puzzles aren't necessarily as good, and thematically, those dungeons aren't as good as like Wind Waker or Ocarina of Time. But it's what you're having to give up to be able to do the, you can go anywhere at what time, whenever you want, and you have all the tools at the very beginning. I love the Legend of Zelda series, man. I feel like you talked about like how people get hyped for Legend of Zelda.
Yeah.
I went to the release of Tears of the Kingdom at GameStop here in Burbank.
At GameStop. Wow, name drop.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was, it came out, it would have been, I want to say it was like August of 2023. Why don't you guys look that up for me?
I'm looking it up for you, yeah.
I think it was like August of 23. Maybe it was September.
It was May. It was May.
Oh, it was May. Okay.
May 2023.
Okay. So that was right when the strikes started. The writer strikes started and the actor strike. Well, I think the actor strike. Yeah,
Was
yeah.
a couple
it
months
started
after.
as well. And we got there, and the line for this thing was crazy long. I mean, you guys know the GameStop in Burbank. Most of you guys don't know, but I know at least Ryan knows the GameStop. The line went from GameStop around the Bevmo
Yeah.
all the way to Olive Garden.
Yeah, I know exactly where that is. Yeah, that's pretty far.
For Zelda. And I got there pretty late. But then it was so funny because I took the pizzas to like the WGA. I would drop off the pizzas, and it just so happened the person who was orchestrating that was like third in line, and she's like, "Oh, hey, Cameron," and I'm like, "Hey," and they're like, "Oh, we knew you were coming, so we saved you a spot." I'm like,
Wow.
Oh,
yeah,
That's
So
really nice.
I was like one of the first people to get Tears of the Kingdom here in Burbank at the at that GameStop at least. So yeah, I mean, like people love the Zelda series. The fans of it, there's no other game. Like, I know I keep up with video game news quite a bit, but like as someone who plays video games, like you guys think of me as someone who plays video games. I probably play like the least amount of video games for someone who you guys might consider.
Oh yeah, no, you and I know that about you too. Like, again, in this trio here, you're definitely probably the biggest what I would call gamer.
Yeah.
But even to that extent, like you're not as bad.
You're still a casual gamer,
Yes,
I would say.
Yeah. I mean, League of Legends, have put a lot of time into that,
Degen.
and like that's, yeah, absolutely, and like that is the game that like since I went to college, like that's the game that I play. But like honestly, most games nowadays, if they're like really long, I have I think the last games that I finished were the God of War games, the new ones that came out. God of War and then Ragnarok, and I like those ones because honestly they have a tinge of Zelda in them. There's these dungeons, and they almost feel like more mature Zelda games, in a way. Like there's so much that they take from Zelda. Like that, the Zelda games are so influential. Like they have done so much for gaming as a whole, and like the industry as a whole. And like I love the Zelda games. They're amazing.
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, hearing you talk about it, and this goes for anyone talking about something they're passionate about. But it's like, again, conversations in the past. You've gotten me the closest I've ever gotten to trying a Zelda game again, and just hearing you talk about it right now and explain even things like you're talking about, Tears of the Kingdom and how there's these sky islands, and then you can go underground and stuff like that. That stuff sounds so enticing to me, and I mean, albeit a little bit intimidating, but
Yeah.
that freedom sounds so fun and exciting, and it does. It makes me, I feel like I want to try it, So I mean,
Yeah.
no, I mean, I can totally tell how much you truly appreciate this franchise for what it is.
And I'll say this for if anyone's listening and they want to try the Zelda games, I'd say that the Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdoms are very different games from the other ones. You should try like Wind Waker or Ocarina of Time, or I would say Wind Waker or Ocarina of Time if you want to try like a typical Zelda game. And then Breath of the Wild is very good. Once you play Tears of the Kingdom, you can't go back to Breath of the Wild, because essentially what Breath of the Wild, as soon as Tears of the Kingdom was released, Breath of the Wild was like a test game essentially, where they just wanted to see if like the ideas worked,
Right, what they could do, yeah.
And like there's issues with Breath of the Wild. There's like the weapon durability stuff, which is like, it's really annoying because when you play Breath of the Wild, you have to find a new weapon like every 3 like
Yeah.
every 3 guys you fight. It sucks. And then in Tears of the Kingdom, they fix it. Like, and not in a way that's like cheap. They add this new mechanic where you can like bind different things together. Like you can, put together a stick and a rock to make a hammer. Or like, I kid you not, you can like combine like a rake with like you can even combine it with like an enemy. And like now you have like this enemy on your long rake, and like you can like hit guys that are like 7 people away from you because you've got this long rake, and like the enemy is like on it and like swinging around. It's just like Breath of the Wild is great, and it was amazing while it was. And if you're planning on playing a Zelda game, playing Tears of the Kingdom eventually, you have to start with Breath of the Wild, because once you play Tears of the Kingdom, you could never ever go back to Breath of the Wild.
Well, Cameron, I know you talked about this earlier a little bit, but before we wind down here, I wanted you wanted to touch on the GameCube. Was there anything specific that you wanted to talk about with that? Or were you just talking in general, like...
Well, yeah, I mean, the GameCube was my first game console. Pretty much, I think the main thing that I played on there was Zelda. We also played the Madden games. We had, Madden. We had NHL Hits. You guys ever play that?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Loved NHL Hits. I think we had like a few.
What a bonkers controller the GameCube had.
Oh, yeah. I mean...
So that's an elite
That was
system.
the normal controller after Nintendo 64.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just telling someone about this the other day, my buddy who has his N64 set up, and I do not know how I'll be able to describe this right now. This looks weird. When I played N64, like, I'm assuming you guys hold it, hand on the middle, whatever you want to call that, and then right hand on the right one, and then this.
If you're right-handed dominant,
yes.
I would assume
Okay.
so, yeah.
I always played it, and I don't know why I did this. I played it to where I did not have my hand on that middle thing. I had my hand on the outsides. So this one was gripped around the grip, pressing the directional buttons or the letter buttons. This hand I would rest against that left side, and I would go like this with the analog stick. So I literally was like this when I was playing N64. I do not know why. That was just the most comfortable thing for me. And even the other day when I was playing it again, I picked it up and held it like you're supposed to. I was like, no, this feels wrong. Like I need to play like this, Yeah. And it was just the longest time until I recognized that. But the only experience I had with GameCube was my neighbors had one, and I'd go over there and we'd play Double Dash, Melee.
Yeah,
but like
those are
that
like
was
the C
it.
games I played.
Most people I knew had PlayStation 2s.
That's what I had.
And like, because GameCube didn't sell well. Like it wasn't because it didn't have like the graphical
better than
capabilities it didn't have the graphical capabilities of like the PS2 or the Xbox.
Right.
But like it had the games. And this is why I will always get, whenever Nintendo releases a new system, I'm always going to get that system because I can't get those games anywhere else.
Right.
I can't get the next Legend of Zelda on an Xbox. I can't get Mario Kart on a PlayStation. I have to get a Switch for that. And like I'm sure have you guys seen the new Switch reveal that they did? Yeah.
24-player Mario Kart.
That's going to go.
gnarly.
It doesn't seem like there's that many differences between that and the Switch.
No.
It's just bigger. No. But I'm going to get it.
Oh, 100%.
Am I going to play it that often? Probably not. The only reason I got a Wii U, I did get a Wii U, and I think it's an underrated console if I'm being honest with you. The only reason I bought a Wii U was because they were supposed to release Legend of Zelda on it. And that's why I bought it. I bought it because they were going to release Legend of Zelda. And then, of course, the Switch came out. I bought the Switch the day after it came out so I could play Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I mean, the Zelda games are system sellers.
Yeah,
it's like Ryan was just saying. I mean, Mario Kart, I feel like it's the same way. Like, look, everyone loves Mario Kart. Like Mario Kart, Mario Party, like those two games are just absolute staples. And like you said, in this day and age, so many games are available on almost any platform, And I mean, even like the MLB games for the longest time were PlayStation exclusive, and now you can play those on anything. And so, like you said, with things like Zelda, Mario Kart, Mario Party, like Nintendo can release whatever they want, and even if it's hardly different, people are going to buy the console because they want to play those games. They're staples.
Yep.
And especially if they're going to keep doing things like the Switch, where they make it so easy for you to be like, I feel like most people, and maybe I'm just speaking for myself, like my Switch never leaves its dock, pretty much. Like it's on the dock and I'm playing at home on a TV. But like the Switch really is so, groundbreaking with the fact that I could take it to work, be playing by myself. Oh, hey, you want to play Mario Kart Tool? Cool. Like pop off this controller and hand it to you, And if they're going to keep doing things like that, like it's such a user-friendly console. You don't need to be a gamer to understand how to use a Nintendo system.
That's the whole reason why they just did another Switch instead of a whole new system. It's like, we made something that works. We're not going to change it. Like, let's just keep building
the
it even better.
Switch, I'm pretty sure the Switch has surpassed the PlayStation 2.
It has.
As the most. Yeah, I think it happened recently. But it's the highest selling console of all time.
Yeah.
So, like, why would they... Nintendo's trying to, like... Because people are like, well, why are they calling it Switch 2? Because Nintendo's trying to make sure they don't do what they did with the Wii U.
Yeah.
They want to make sure that they differentiate it enough to where people go, oh, yeah, I should probably get one of these. My girlfriend had actually just bought a Switch Lite. You guys know those, right? You've seen those? Yeah. So she just bought a Switch Lite, and she actually started playing Breath of the Wild a couple weeks ago.
Oh, nice.
Because I was like, you got to play this game. You got to play this game. But yeah, Zelda, if you're listening to this and you haven't played any of the Zelda games and you want to, if you have a Switch, you could play, Breath of the Wild. You could play Tears of the Kingdom. As I was talking to Joel about a little bit earlier, and Ryan as well, you can also, if you have Nintendo Online, they have Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask on the 64, Nintendo 64 app. They have the original Zelda game on the Super Nintendo, or no, the NES, Nintendo
It's the
NES,
NES,
app, and you can play those games. And I highly recommend you try them out because they are. I mean, who knows? You might find your new favorite game series.
Yeah, well, like I said, I mean, you definitely convinced me. I'll be trying out some aspect of Zelda again here soon. Whether that's starting with Ocarina of Time or even finally trying Breath of the Wild and then getting myself into Tears of the Kingdom. It's this was convincing enough to me that I am like, okay, maybe I finally need to get around to this, Ryan, any final thoughts from you before we wrap this baby up?
I mean, I think I like a lot of the elements that come from the Zelda games that get added to Smash Bros. Like that was like my big main introduction to most of the characters in this world. I would love to find some time to just go into one of those games, just like Joel said, and just kind of give it another chance, because Cameron did such a good job of not selling it, because it doesn't need to be sold, but just like showing how much passion he has behind it, and it's like it's palpable. Like he talks about Zelda in a way that like I would talk about like Kingdom Hearts, and I like really enjoy that. Like I enjoyed seeing that.
Well, Ryan and Joel, if you guys ever want to borrow, I've got both of them. So Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild. I'd happily lend them to you guys.
Beautiful.
Nice.
That sounds good to me. Well, Cameron, first guest of the new season/year. You were a big get. We had to jump a lot of hurdles and get through a lot of red tape to get you here, but
my agent, when they told me about this, I was like, well, I guess I can make room.
I guess I could do it. Anything that you want to shout out? Anything that you're working on? Anything that you got going that you want the people to know about? Or
not yet. I just got a cinema camera, Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K, that I've been playing around with, and I've learned how to do color grading. I'm still learning. I mean, I know how to use the program now, so I want to say. So I'm looking forward to making some shorts, and obviously I know that we all talked about making some stuff together. But I can't believe in my 27 years of being on this planet, always knowing that I wanted to, make films, I've never owned a camera.
Yeah.
Like, not even like a point and click.
yeah,
Or point and shoot camera. I've never owned one. So, bought a camera, currently building up the rig, and, I'll have some shorts out soon, hopefully.
Sweet.
Hell yeah, dude.
Well, Cameron, again, thank you so much for being on here. For the folks listening at home, you know where to find us at Mind Rewind Pod on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all that good stuff. We've got big plans for this year. We've got a lot of stuff in the pipeline that we want to do. A lot of, things that we wanted to do last year that with our busy lives we just couldn't get around to. So we're really excited to really put a lot into this year and bring you a show that's worth your time. But for the time being, thank you all so much for rewinding with us, and we'll catch you all next time.